That was the statement win we all needed. Huge statement win last night at the Garden. The Knicks defeat the Memphis Hustle, the G League Memphis Hustle. Man, that was huge. I don't know, man. I just get like when I get those when you get those type of schedule wins, it's so boring. Is you're not engaged, and it's like the Garden was quiet. It was like I got the vibe that I used to have when we watched those 50 lost Knicks teams. God, those games! I almost hate watching those games because it's just like it's like watching preseason basketball. It really is. Obviously, it got a little too tense at the end. We'll talk about it. Episode 623 of the podcast. We're moving along. We're going to talk some Knicks Grizzlies, but again, such a pointless game that most of this episode will be focused on the trade deadline, which is approaching in a little 25 hours. 4 p.m. tomorrow as I'm recording. It's okay. So a little over 24 hours from now, the trade deadline will be here, and hopefully the Knicks will have made a deal. And we'll talk about that more than the actual Knicks Grizzlies game in this show because, again, who cares? Let's go. Episode 623 of the pod. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball. Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
Trying to close the show.
She was doing a great job of feeding.
That is
It's over. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. What's happening, everybody? Episode 623 of the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to, maybe watching, BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. If you want to follow us, be sure to, I don't know what that was. If you want to follow us, be sure to follow us, subscribe to the show, find me on social media. You know where to find all that. Anyhow, I want to dive right into this thing. Before we talk about the game itself and other things, which those other things will probably be the main talking point of this show since it was Knicks Grizzlies, congrats to Mike Breen and Clyde Frazier. It's been 25 years with those two as a tandem in the broadcast booth table, at the broadcast table. I'm so used to saying booth, I say it all the time as a Yankees fan. At the broadcast table, and man, those two, like, I mean, you talk about the best around, and that's a cliche, I know that. There really is no better duo in, dare I say, sports today than Clyde Frazier and Mike Breen. I mean, the insight they bring, the chemistry they both have, and you could tell those two dudes are good friends with each other, and it was great seeing that, and I'm glad that MSG paid their respects, and the Knicks gave them each their jersey at the beginning of the telecast with the number 25 on it, with Breen and Clyde on the back. I mean, they're just two of the best around. They've been everything to the Knicks fan base. You won't hear a single bad thing about either of them. Those are two gods as far as Knicks fans are concerned, and just a tremendous duo. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first. Congrats to Breen and Clyde. They actually had Bill Bradley joined them in the booth to do a little promo about his documentary, I think, that he's got coming out. That was cool. Bill Bradley, good dude, man. Great words by him, too. Just talking about he's a politician, and he was talking about the division of the country and what he thinks we can do to heal things up a bit. And, I'm not into politics. I don't care. I don't vote for any of that bullshit. I think it's all nonsense. But if I was into it, Bill Bradley is someone who would probably have my vote. Let's just say that. But let's talk about the game, man. This was a game where the Knicks, they won 123-113. Okay, they got off to this hot start, 12-2 start in the first quarter. Elite ball movement. Brunson's hot. They're up 33-24 after one. Second quarter comes, the bench comes in, and they balloon the lead. Deuce is playing well. He has a driving kick to Josh Hart for a three. Then he pulls up for a three himself. Malachi Flynn knocks down a deep three. And it kept going. The Knicks were up 70-46 at the half. The game was mostly over. The second half was domination until late in the fourth quarter, or midway through the fourth, I guess. The Knicks lead slips away. Memphis eventually cuts it to 4 points with I want to say 2 minutes left. But Donte DiVincenzo hits the big three. We'll talk about the injuries in a sec. And the Knicks win 123-113, against a G League Grizzlies team. So a win's a win. It's nice to have a scheduled win. Again, I don't have much on the game. I'll run through a few notes I have here before we get into the important things. The offense was good. The defense, I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was great. The scheme hurt a little bit last night. The Knicks, their scheme is drop coverage on pick and roll, and they help off the corners and the wings. I thought they were late on their closeouts, especially in the second half. I thought they were going under the screen a lot. I thought the biggest culprits of the perimeter defense being as weak as it was, Memphis shot 57%, made 21 threes, were Precious Achiuwa and Josh Hart. Precious did a lot of helping middle, helping one pass over, so he was bit on the three-point line. Josh Hart was going under a few too many times, so I'm not going to solely blame Tom Thibodeau. By the way, the Knicks won. But, usually this is a defensive scheme that works for the Knicks, right? The Knicks are excellent at defending the rim, and that's what drop coverage is for. And they usually also close out effectively enough. And if they don't, they usually win the game of chance on those open threes. That's their scheme. Usually it works. That's why they have a almost top 5 defense right now in basketball. The number 1 defense since the trade. And a lot of those three, not a lot, but there were a good amount of those threes last night that weren't off the Knicks scheme. It was transition defense being poor, so that led to a few open shots, the defense not being set. You had some three-pointers there in the fourth quarter off of switches that hurt the Knicks. If there's anything you can criticize there, the Knicks got bit off the switch. You can blame Tom Tibbs for going away from drop coverage because that's their scheme that usually works. That's where they're most comfortable. But that's really the only takeaway I have. That's kind of because that was the only thing at the end. The defense fell apart. But all in all, they won. Again, Donte hits the big shot, that big three, finishes with 32 points, and he's going to get the game ball. If I can find the right slide here.
Bing bang.
Donte DiVincenzo last night, 32 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, a block, 12 for 18 from the floor, 4 of 9 from 3, 4 of 5 at the line. Got his 8th game ball of the season last night. He's been great. He's been great in this new high usage role. He's getting a lot more volume now, and he's producing with it. He's shooting the ball, of course, but he's even attacking closeouts, right? He's now leveraging the threat of his shot to attack the lanes and get to the basket. The defense is playing tighter up on him. They're paying more attention to him. So what he's doing, he's going around them. He's using pin downs, DHO offense, and getting downhill off it. And he's doing a great job finishing. The floater, he flashed that. Yeah, I mean, for somebody who earlier in the season had trouble at the basket, and that's been his like historic flaw on him. He's not a good finisher. He's found it. But it's good to see him shooting threes, of course, with Brunson's three-pointer off for a little bit now without Randall. It's nice to see Donte DiVincenzo step up and keep chucking those things up and knocking them down. So, and the defense, his defense has been great. His help defense is everything it's been. He's all over the floor. Very quickly, like he's just everywhere at once. There were a couple possessions in the third quarter, I want to say. Early in the second half, yeah. Where there was one where Donte gambles by jumping the pass lane. He deflects the ball, but he doesn't intercept it. Then he recovers to get back into the play. And he's helping on one guy. Then he helps on the next guy. Just two different guys successively. And then the ball eventually goes out of bounds. That was all because of him. And then a few minutes later in the third quarter, after that possession, there was a sequence where he's playing ball denial on Luke Kennard. Kennard finally pops to the top and receives the ball. Donte closes. He stays in front of Kennard to force a handoff to Williams Jr., and then he switches on to Williams, glues him, navigates a ball screen, and then he stays with Williams on a drive to block his shot. So he's just everywhere at once. And just continues to be very solid, man. He's, for a mid-level exception deal, solid is not doing him enough justice. So Donte DiVincenzo gets his 8th game ball last night. And then off the bench, I'll hand it to Deuce McBride. I thought Deuce continued to shine. 12 points, 2 of 6 on his threes, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, an 8th. And he got his 8th game ball last night. Some more off the dribble scoring. That's nice to see. That's something he was waiting on, for a while, and he's finally starting to develop that part of his game. We'll talk a little bit more about Deuce when we get into trade stuff, but this might have been Deuce's last game as a regular for the Knicks. And I think Knicks fans need to accept that because this is who he's been his entire career. This is probably who he's going to be. Somebody who fills in when injuries happen. But when the Knicks complete their roster on Thursday and make a trade or two, and they will, I expect Deuce to be the one who loses his spot unless they do move Grimes. But from what I'm hearing, they've kind of changed a tune there and they're planning on keeping Grimes unless it's for like a crazy return. So good job in Deuce McBride's potentially final game as a regular this year. I'm a little concerned, guys. Like, the injuries, the workload that's now piling up on some of these guys. I mean, Memphis had their entire roster out last night, a G League team, and like, we go into it, we're without Randall, we're without OG Anunoby, we're without Quentin Grimes. None of those guys are going to be back before All-Star break. Same with Mitch, and Jericho was a scratch last night. OG Anunoby, that thing's kind of scaring me. You got the report that he's better, but then you get the report after that's saying he's not doing any on-court stuff. He's not even involved in shoot around or in practice right now. I get scared with that. It's been day-to-day for 2 weeks now. That's a problem to me. Quentin Grimes is done for the homestand. They say the earliest will be February 12th. So I don't think he's going to be back until All-Star break if he's still around. Mitchell Robinson, that's the one positive update we got. He's progressing and he's planning to get back onto on-court activities after the break. But like I said, Memphis had their entire roster out last night, and you're still seeing the box score, and Donte DiVincenzo is playing 40 minutes. Precious Achiuwa is playing 40 minutes. Brunson and Hart are in there late in the game in a 20-point game. They both get hurt. Now, Tibbs checked Brunson back in with 8 minutes remaining when a 28-point lead, 29-point lead shrunk to a 20-point game at the time. And a few minutes as he's back in, he turns his ankle. He walked to the locker room on his own will, just fine. Ian Begley said he left the arena just fine, without a significant limp. And he also was talking with Donte DiVincenzo, who said that Donte asked Jalen how he was doing, and Jalen said, "I'm good." I think he's fine. I'm not going to blame Tom Thibodeau for all this. Like, the Brunson thing, who do you want in there? Fournier? Like, Tibbs plays to win. In today's game, we say it all the time, leads don't mean what they used to. With the three-point shot, with the tempo of the game being what it is, leads don't mean shit anymore with 5-6 minutes to go. Right? Memphis was 9 out of 12 from three-point land in the fourth quarter. Like, teams shoot the three at such an incredible rate today. Tom Thibodeau, he plays to win. And you can disagree with that. I disagree with it. I wish Brunson was out of the game. I texted my buddy at halftime. I'm like, we should just play the entire non-rotational reserve team. You know, Charlie Brown, Archie, fucking Taj, like, what's his name? Jacob Toppin. Like, all those guys should be playing the second half. I did. So I get it. But, like, Tibbs plays to win, and he's never going to be conservative with it. He's going to make sure he gets the win, and he's going to put the best players in for as long as they need to play until he's certain they're going to win the game. And that's all I care about, right, is winning. Like, I'm not Gen Z. Gen Z cares about meaningless shit. Like, all these fans on Twitter care about everything but winning, it feels like. I just want the win so I can understand that mindset. If I'm blaming anybody, it's the front office. Like, go and make a damn move. I feel like we should have done something earlier, but I understand you don't want to rush into something and lose leverage and then having to give up more than you should have. But I'm just, like, I'm struggling to maintain optimism, if I'm being honest with you guys. Like, regarding the Knicks ceiling, I really, this year, like, I was talking about dark horse finals candidate. I was talking about an Eastern Conference Finals run at the least. I don't know anymore, man. Every day passes, and we're hearing about these new injuries and these setbacks. Like, I just feel like the injuries are going to catch up to them. I get this. Maybe it's the PTSD as a Yankees fan, where it's just like we never, over the years, we have these great rosters on paper, but we never see the whole thing all together. And I just get a bad feeling we're not going to see this Knicks team fully healthy. It just doesn't seem to be trending in a good direction. Ever since that Miami game, it seems the Randall injury happened, and it's like a bit of trickle down. These injuries are really starting to worry me. The Randall thing is still kind of fluid. You know, Mitchell Robinson return is not guaranteed. OG Anunoby thing is scary. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Grimes, but he's been out before. And the Brunson, I hope he's okay. Seems like he is. Heart. The workload, I feel like, is going to catch up to them by the postseason. Because they can make a trade, but they still got a number of guys out after tomorrow. So, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know. Maybe you could say the silver lining is that the Knicks are acting silent and weird on these injuries for leverage at the deadline tomorrow. But it's not exactly helping me. Like I saw a tweet that was pretty funny, saying like Tibbs speaks on medicals, as if the Knicks are on a different universe with no communication to the outside world. Like, they don't know shit about what's going on. It's crazy. So like let's stop the bullshit. There's obviously something going on we don't know. The reporters aren't giving us shit. They're just wording it weird. I'm a little nervous, man. I'm not as optimistic as I was 5 minutes until 5 minutes after the Heat game. You know, that was like the peak of the season for me. I'm starting to, like, ever since then, I've tried my best to stay optimistic about this team, but like in the back of my mind, something's telling me the inevitable's coming. The shoe's going to drop, and fucking these injuries are going to catch up to them. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but I hope I am. because you got the trade deadline coming tomorrow, right? And the Knicks' number one priority is getting a combo guard off the bench. It's getting somebody to help out Jalen Brunson. Because Deuce McBride, he's been great. He's having a career year. He's not a creator. You know, on occasion, he'll attack closeouts on the empty side. But, like, he takes a while to get into sets. His handle's not great. Without Jalen Brunson on the floor, the offense is way less effective with Deuce running. He's a catch-and-shoot player for the most part. Now, he's been better off the dribble this season. Last night, again, he did a great job. But he's not an initiator who gets you into your offense and runs pick and roll. I'll go a step further and say that the Knicks bench has improved a lot since the initial trade. Like, there's a point in time, a couple games after the trade, where the Knicks' second-unit players were giving you zero offense. That's improved. They've been holding it down very well. But it's about the sustainability for me. And between losing two creators in RJ and Quickly, Deuce being more of a combo wing type, the injuries, the workload, like the Knicks absolutely need guard help. And one guy who is probably unrealistic, but still like the most ideal candidate in my opinion, I think the guy they should get, they should do everything they could to get Malcolm Brogdon. I think he's the best fit. He's a good creator. He fits on ball. He fits off ball and catch and shoot. He could play with Brunson at times, and he can obviously play without Brunson to lead the second unit. Malcolm Brogdon is a crafty pick and roll point guard who can find the pocket pass, and he can shoot when the defense goes under. He can run DHO with iHeart, and defensively, he's got some size to him. So he's a physical defender who can guard up a slot or two. He's probably not as quick as Deuce McBride is at the point of attack. You know, and that would hurt twice as much if Grimes is going out in a Brogdon deal because you're losing Grimes. Brogdon comes in, and he's probably taking Deuce's minutes if you get another guy like in the front court. So, like, you know, Deuce and Grimes are your two best point of attack defenders in the second unit. So at that point, you know, you're bringing in front court help. You're bringing in Brogdon. You're relying on Josh Hart to defend the point of attack. Brogdon's also got some injury history, though I'm not letting that stop me from getting him. If there's a world where you can get away with like Evan Fournier plus maybe the Dallas pick or 2 firsts, I really don't care which. I do it. I know that's unpopular. I do the fuck out of that. Pause. And again, the Knicks are reportedly holding on, trying to hold on to Grimes. So if they can get a deal done with Fournier's salary and then a pick or 2, sure. And not DeJounte. Brogdon is also salary filler. 22.5 this year, 22.5 next year. So you can use that. Jordan Clarkson's a name we've heard. You know, apparently he wants to play for the Knicks. It's nice to see guys wanting to play here now. You know, this kid's a bucket getter. He could drop you 30 on any night. He's a scoring machine. His weakness is the other end of the floor. He's not a good defender. He's undersized. You know, sometimes it's effort, ball watching, and I just feel like that would be a nightmare next to Jalen Brunson. And who are you dealing with here? You're dealing with Danny Ainge. So I'm not sure that Utah is going to take a lesser deal here. I have a feeling that with Danny Ainge on the other end, the Knicks are going to have to overpay for Clarkson. And at that point, you're overpaying for Jordan Clarkson to play 15 minutes per game in the playoffs. I feel like, I don't know. And his salary's not that high. Like, he's only making $14 million a year. I prefer somebody who's making over 20. Like DeJounte Murray. probably my second preference beneath Brogdon, because he's also salary filler. He's making $25 this year. No, $25 million next year when the extension kicks in. $26 million the year after, $28 million the year after that, and then $30 million in the fourth year of the extension. So that's perfect. That salary that you can easily flip for something big in the summer or sometime next year. And DeJounte is probably the best scorer on the market right now. He's just got a knack for scoring at all three levels. He's got some playmaking abilities that he can use. He's a bucket getter too. And I'm not worried about his fit with Brunson offensively. I think people can sometimes overblow that. I am concerned about the defense. Now, DeJounte's got some length. He's got wingspan, and he's pretty good at the point of attack. But he's a bad off-ball defender, and his defense, from what I hear, has definitely slipped with the Hawks. And at the end of the day, he weighs $180. It's just something that bothers me a little bit. And then here's a good question. Like, you got to consider, where does DeJounte play? Where does he fit? Are you willing to risk the chemistry of the first unit and remove Donte DiVincenzo from the starting five, which has been a spot that he absolutely deserves? Does DeJounte Murray making that much money come off the bench for you? I mean, politics is going to say no. And like they're asking for the Kings' ransom. When they acquired DeJounte Murray, they moved off 3 first-round picks, unprotected picks. Throw the swap in there. They're going to ask for a ton. I'm just, I'm hearing two different sides. I really don't know if this is, I heard Tommy D says it's likely. Bondi's saying it's very unlikely. I don't think it's going to happen with DeJounte. But it's my second preference. Somebody I really have a bad feeling they're going to get, and he's probably the very last guy on my list, and he's a good player. He's an absolute good player. His defense is decent. This guy can defend multiple spots, but I don't think Bruce Brown makes up for the adequate offense if you're considering he's taking minutes from Grimes and Deuce. I don't want Bruce Brown on the Knicks. I just like to, I know we've talked about him a lot, but 2 Josh Harts on one team in the year 2024 is one's enough. Josh Hart's great, but you can only have so many intangibles guards in this era. Now Bruce Brown gives you a little more on the ball in the half court, off ball. He can attack closeouts, and he finishes with a nice floater, right? He's got a little more of a three-point shot. Not really. For the most part, he's not a ball handler. He's not going to initiate. He's not a connector. And he's not a spacer, not a shooter. You got to go back to December 2nd to find the last time Bruce Brown made over 2 threes in a game. So if you think the defense is going to respect him if he's one pass away, you're mistaken. They're going to slide over to bring help onto Brunson, just like they've been doing with Josh Hart. Go watch the fourth quarter of LA. I don't want another player who the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau, is going to have to mix and match with in order to get effective half-court offense. Because it's already tough to play Josh Hart with another non-spacing big and Brunson lineups. So if Brown comes in and he's added to that second unit as he's expected to play with, that's Brown, Hart, and then a non-spacing big out there, Precious or Sims. Those are 3 guys. What the fuck are we doing here? Tibbs, I know he's got influence in moves. Ever since the Cam debacle, Tibbs has a say. And the fact that we keep hearing Bruce Brown, and Brown is praising Thibodeau, it's definitely mostly Tom Thibodeau who's advocating for this move. But at the same time, Tom Thibodeau's a successful coach. He's a smart guy, right? You have to figure that Tibbs sees the spacing issues there. Especially because a Thibodeau offense is about using the best spacers in the corners to take help off the roll. He's always irate when players are passing up open threes. I just feel like Tibbs got to know. He's got to know that, like, the Knicks were in desperate need of a creator before this Brunson injury. And before, we're worried about the workload too. They already have spacing issues in certain lineups as it is. Why would they add fuel to the fire by now going out and acquiring Bruce Brown? Bruce Brown fits Thibodeau, but he doesn't fit the Knicks, if that makes any sense. I have to believe that Tom Thibodeau in the front office knows that. There's no way they aren't smarter than that. It's just not going to make any sense. It's not what you need. He's salary filler too. Yeah, great. He makes over $20 million. He's got next year on his contract. But like, again, the two guys we just talked about are also salary filler, and they are more talented and they actually fit. So I can't express enough how against I am in acquiring Bruce Brown. And Bruce Brown's good, but he doesn't make sense for me. You're hearing Alec Burks, yuck. You're hearing Kyle Lowry a little bit, yuck. Please stop with the dinosaurs. Get real talent. Like this whole Tibbs only guys and Nova guys and like familiarity. Come on. Like why does it seem like talent is now lowest on the list? Especially talent that does fit. That shit should always be first. Modern NBA, that shit should always be first. I don't understand. I don't know, man. I really hope we don't go that route. The Knicks, maybe they're looking for a backup 5 as well. My personal preference is to use your assets on a bench guard, and then maybe you explore the buyout market if you have to. But I wouldn't hate banking on Mitchell Robinson to return for the playoffs and just going with iHeart, Mitch, and then Jericho as the backup 5 for now, right? The problem right now, Jericho and Precious are your backup 5s, and Jericho's best trait is his ability to move his feet laterally, but Tibbs' defensive system doesn't require a ton of switching at the 5 or much hedging, and Precious is showing flashes, but he, just like Sims, is undersized at 5. That hurts him on the defensive glass. That hurts him on defense. His best comes out when he's backing up 4. He's good in pick and roll coverage, where he's able to steal off the middle and switch. You know, he has a motor on defense. He's got a motor on the offensive glass. He's showing that he's very capable of defending bigger 3-4 wings. You know, he's done a nice job holding some guys down adequately. You know, Siakam, Larry Markkinen, Mikal Bridges, LeBron James the other night. But as a backup 5, I don't know that I trust Precious and Jericho to be the tertiary guys. Like, I would rather explore the buyout market and then hope that it can be iHeart, Mitch as your secondary, and insert tertiary here. I don't know that I want Precious or Sims taking that second spot. So I'm banking on Mitch. You're hearing PJ Washington, but like him or any other power forwards / undersized 5s that the Knicks acquire would kind of indicate they're expecting bad news to come with Randall. So PJ Washington can shoot the ball a little bit. I feel like he'd be better defensively here in this system. You're hearing that name. I just don't know, like, because if you're considering Randall's returning, then you have OG. You've got Hart, who feels that's like, I don't know if they're going to. So if they go out and get a power forward tomorrow, an undersized 5, even, kind of tells me something bad is coming with Julius. But all in all, like, the Knicks, Leon Rules will go into tomorrow trying to improve the roster, but also trying to leverage the future and stay liquid. So I think if I'm a Knicks fan, and I am a Knicks fan, I'd expect someone who doesn't cost not just a ton of picks, but who doesn't cost certain picks, because not all first round picks are equal. I'd also expect it to be someone with decent salary, so they can maintain flexibility in the trade market later on this summer. And who fits both of those molds? Someone who's decent, cheap, and has a flippable contract. Unfortunately, the guy who was just traded from Indiana to Toronto, who basically asked to be a Knicks fan after the Knicks smoked them the other week. And I cannot express enough how against I'd be. Not against, but how much I don't want that. Like, I don't think I'm rioting if it happens, but I would be pretty damn close to it. Like, I really, really, really don't want the Knicks to go after Brown. I just, like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. I think that's it. You know, I don't think we have to go further. I think we talked about everything we needed to regarding the game last night and the trade market. We've just because we've beaten this whole dead horse a lot, talked about trades a lot over the past month, so I feel like we're good here. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I always do. And with that said, we will head to our break, come back, and wrap this thing up with our trivia, and that will be that. 40 minutes in. Let's get to our break.
We appreciate you sticking around and listening so far. When you have a chance, be sure to open YouTube to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you're already watching on YouTube, be sure to head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate your feedback and are always looking to improve. Now, with that all said, let's get you back to the show. You can also find us on social media. If you'd like, you can follow BD4 on Facebook, and we're at BD4Pod on both Instagram and Twitter. We appreciate you helping us grow more and more every day. Let's get back to it. If you have time in the day, or maybe just prefer old-fashioned reading over listening, then you can always follow along and subscribe to BD4 Blog by going to BD4blog.com. We're not on there as often, but when we do post, it's just as entertaining, opinionated, and passionate as we are on this podcast. Thank you so much. And let's keep on with the show.
Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. All right, welcome back to the show. I appreciate everybody tuning into this one. If you've listened to the podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Maybe you're watching the video edit of this show on YouTube or Spotify, and if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to subscribe. I don't know what's going on, man. My voice is breaking up today. I'm stuttering a billion times, more than I usually do. I know I usually do a lot, but goddamn. So with that said, let's wrap this thing up so I can stop talking once and for all. Let's get to our trivia to wrap this thing up. Okay, so for this episode, hope the mic, the camera didn't pick that up. I think I just spit on the mic. I'm a mess, guys. True or false? The Knicks have more wins than the Grizzlies in their all-time regular season matchups. Is that true or false? The Knicks have more wins than the Grizzlies in their all-time regular season matchups. With that said, that's all we got. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Episode 623 is in the books. Talk some trades, mostly in this one. Jesus. Covered the Knicks Grizzlies game from last night, or the hustle, the Memphis hustle. And thank you for let's wrap this thing up before I stutter for the 700th time. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you. And we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees and go Knicks.